I didn't drive a foot in the iRacing Petit Le Mans, but Erik did. Pointed the wrong way. But I'm still exhausted from that event. I don't think I've fully recovered from it. We're going to talk about that 10-hour race that ended about 5 a.m. Eastern time. We'll talk about that big night behind closed doors on Tuesday, Wednesday night dash. We'll say mixed results. We got the real Petit Le Mans coming up this weekend. NASCAR is heading to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vegas this week. Don't get in the way of the Formula One mess. Keep falling back on that. And
too easy.
Yeah, that and probably more on FR Racing's Garage Talk. I'm DJ Flook.
I'm Eric Richardson.
And let's go right into the Petit Le Mans. And so this was put together very quickly, straight across the board. It had been talked about for months. Kind of the last big event before Daytona on the iRacing schedule. When did it come together, on Tuesday of that week?
I think we've been chatting about it a little bit, but then we finally made it official. Like, yeah, we're running.
It was like Tuesday of last week that it became official, because we were talking about it last week's episode. So it was already decided by then. So yeah, it was about Tuesday. This was decided, and I said, okay, I'm going to run the 10-hour stream. It's going to be, I'm not sitting there for 10 hours, but Taka, on the other hand, sat there for like
he was
8
there,
hours.
wasn't he?
He sat there for about 8 hours. And so I kicked off the stream and I screwed up. I joined the practice session room instead of the race session. So I'm like, it's like going to the track on the wrong day, and you're just sitting there like, where is everybody? I'm like, oh, there's 20 minutes left in the session, and you're like, we're on lap 7. I'm like,
I jump into the broadcast and I was like, yeah, I'm actually watching. They're on lap 7 already.
I'm in the wrong session. And so then I go and switch over to the race session, and then iRacing crashes as it loads, as it gets to 100%. I'm like, oh, this is off to a wonderful start.
Well, we chose a new car too that we haven't really had a ton of time in. We went with the LMP2.
Yeah, and Ian Miller kicked off the stint. Phenomenal performance from him. Got the team into the lead at one point.
We were leading. I think we got off pit strategy a little bit, so that helped.
So I was looking at
running pretty well.
I was looking at the results from the event, and you had like an incident count of like 53, something like.
Well, what was it? 8 or 12 of those were because I got rear-ended.
Yep, I remember that.
And then I did lose it a couple of times, so there's like 6. All the others were just off tracks where I'd clip the corner just enough.
So overall, the finish was 10th in class, 16th overall out of 38 entries. 16 out of 30. I mean, that's better than Daytona. It was like 21, 22 out of 42 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it also helps a little bit too that you're not in the GT3 class, and
we had GTPs out there, which were about
a lot of GTPs out
7-8 seconds faster per lap, and then we were faster than the GT3s.
This team, it was called Weapons Mandatory.
They were pretty good.
They were good. The average lap for the 3 of them, 109.662, 109.335, 109.885. That was the average lap for their stints. It was 195 for one guy, 161 for the second guy, 157 for the third guy, and they averaged 109 in that. The team
that's remarkable what they can do just lap after lap.
Here's a crazy thing: is the second place team, THLF Esports USA, were social media friends with them, and they've invited us.
What they do?
Yeah, they've invited us to a couple events. Their main team is in Europe. Right, we haven't really directly talked to their USA team before. They finished second. They were about a full second behind, but they only ran 2 drivers for the 10
Yeah,
hours.
there are a lot of teams in our split that had 2 drivers.
And the thing is, they each had like 5 stints each, so they kind of, they split it up pretty nicely. And
Yeah, I think it works out pretty well. We ended up going 2.5 hours, which was a half hour shorter than what we did in Daytona. But it does get hard there at that second half.
I can imagine. I mean, that's a long time to be sitting, period. I mean, I guess it's better than the real car and having to deal with heat and having to wear that full fire suit and everything. But yeah, that's tough. But guys completed the job. 10 hours done.
Yeah, only I think there were what, 2 kind of major incidents or 3.
There were 2 major incidents that basically and still almost chased down that 9th place car. Mark Vicars came on at the very end, and he ended up having to take a drive through for an incident count. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I think you might have caught him.
I left him. He had room for 1 before drive through.
So Taka, basically, I went on and broadcasted the first hour-ish, and then I left, and then I had dinner with my family, got my kids ready for bed, and then I came back after they went to bed, and I sat there for like the last 5.5 hours with Taka, minus, the bathroom breaks. And then Taka and I are like, okay, it is really late where you are. Like, he stayed up until 5 a.m. Like, we got done just before 2 a.m. Pacific time, which is really late for me now. But it was 5 a.m. when he went to bed. And fortunately, he's not a married dude, doesn't have any kids. So it's like, he can get away with that. If I stayed up till 5 a.m., I think my wife would have probably killed me the next morning when I wouldn't get out of bed at a decent hour. But man, that is some hardcore commitment. I have to shout him out for that right there.
That's crazy.
It got to the point where it's now about midnight Pacific time. It's 3 a.m. his time in the East Coast. And we started taking cocktail breaks every like 20 minutes. And so we go and we come back like, what did you get this time? And we're like exchanging cocktail recipes on the broadcast. And I wasn't drunk when I left the broadcast that night, but I was definitely
just feeling good.
I was feeling pretty good when I left and went to bed that night. Next, I woke up at like 8:30. I went to bed at 2. I woke up at 8:30. And then it's like I usually get about 6.5 hours of sleep. I didn't feel terrible, but it was I'm a little shocked my kids let me sleep until 8:30, because usually they're banging on the door at like 6:30 and like,
Wake up.
I want to go out and have breakfast. Go back to bed. But
Just
what are your?
You gotta find a way to fill 14 more hours.
Yeah, it's still fine. That was good practice. I'd say the results were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think same car for Daytona? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think we're actually gonna be leaning to the LMP2. There could be a slight chance though that we end up with a good number of drivers and maybe look at putting 2 entries in.
I think so. I think the only thing I fear is that the entries get separated. It's like, come on, can we get them into the same stint? Because broadcasting with 2 cars is and having to switch broadcasts is going to be painful.
Well, that may be one where we stick with the top split or something like that. And it may end up depending to what cars drivers want to do. Because I know GT3s are still pretty popular. We were really liking the LMP2s.
It was an all GT3 stint. I mean, it was your group last year was all GT3.
Yeah, just a larger number there. We were split 3 on Petit Le Mans, and we were the 3rd of the splits for the LMP2s. So it's kind of where that factored in. It's just how iRacing breaks everything down.
Yeah. Man, just good job all around. I mean, Hunter had a spin, and unfortunately, it's kind of on the edge of the track, and a car who decided, I'm just going to run my normal line, just plowed right into Hunter. Maybe he was on the track, or maybe he's a little too close to the track. Maybe not. I don't know. I think that guy could have avoided it if he wanted to. I think he just didn't, and then just decided to throw a fit at Hunter because of it. The second one, though, which was our crash of the week on Instagram, there was nothing he could have done. That GT3
No, he was going in, and
that GT3 brake really early and tried to get the other car behind him, tried to get out of the way, and just clipped him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Did that GT3 brake too early? Because it looked like he did to me. I'm not an expert in that topic.
I don't remember. It's either a GTP or LMP2 on the inside. I think it was a GTP. So they were going faster and had that inside line, and Hunter didn't
the Hunter was
really have anywhere to go.
Yeah, he was directly behind a GT3 car, and it looked like that GT3 car braked really early for that turn.
Yeah, probably a little nervous that the faster car was going to kind of cut through, and he didn't want to drive into him.
Instead, brake checked Hunter. Hunter stopped. The guy behind him,
he just didn't brake.
He did. He just not enough, and he tried to veer out of the way and just couldn't do it. And just, I mean, that incident right there, the 12 minutes of repair time, you lost about 10 laps right there. That incident took out of a podium run, and obviously wasn't Hunter's fault. It's just sucks.
Even that earlier crash, that was another 12-minute repair. So you take away those, it's 24 minutes of time.
You're right there.
Easy 16 to 20 laps.
I mean, you're right there competing for third, probably.
Yeah, and I was the slow one on the team, but kind of held my own, kept it.
You're only about a second and a half
clean.
off. Wasn't that bad.
I still got some work to do. But definitely felt more comfortable in the LMP2 than I have in GT3s.
So if you would have got your 24 laps, let's just round it up, say 24 laps. That would have put you second place.
Yeah.
It would have put you, I mean, you would have been way behind the team that won. I mean, you would have been about 35 laps behind the team that won, but you would have been about 4 laps comfortable ahead of who ended up finishing P2, and you would have walked away P8 overall. And considering that, 6 of those 7 in front of you are hypercars.
Not bad.
I mean, this could have been a P2, and there's no fault on anybody, obviously, on the team side. But it's racing. It happens. You have good days, you have bad days.
Yeah, sometimes there's nothing you can do. You just get unlucky.
Speaking of good days, behind closed doors.
Ooh, yeah, that was fun. I do like Nashville.
Yeah, that I was not practicing very well on Nashville, and I got out on the track. I botched my qualification run. I sped coming out of pit road. I kind of forgot I wasn't in an ARCA car coming out of pit road.
It accelerates fast.
I got black flagged, and it was a stop and go. And so I did my first lap to try to get, you have 3 laps to do it. I did my first lap, then I stopped, and the flag didn't clear. And so I went back out, I ran again, I came back around, and you get the checkered flag, and then the black flag's still there, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, I stopped, and it didn't stop, so I ended up I cleared it, but I almost got DQ'd out of the session. So I don't know what happened there, but it is what it is. So botched. Oh, and then the lap didn't count anyway. So start 5th. Would you start 2nd?
No, I started pole.
Oh, that's right. So you started on up front. So got right around P4 in the first turn. About 3 laps. It was Brian was in 3rd. I got around Brian, and I spent the rest of the night chasing down Derek. And you had about a 5-6 second lead on him.
At what point in the race?
Most of it. It seemed like you kind of pulled away from him, and
Yeah, he tried to challenge her on that first lap and had a good run out of the turn 2, and then I just kind of closed the door on turn 3, saw what he was going to do, so just tried to run it, and then just kind of never looked back.
when you guys at the end of the first, I somehow, I think all of us that didn't have a wreck related pit, like that just ran a normal tires and fuel, were able to do it in one stint. I mean, they cut really, really close.
Yeah, and I actually didn't start fuel saving until like lap 7 or 8. I was fully planning on just making it a 2-stop because I knew the right front tire was gonna go, and it did.
It was going, but I still had pretty good control.
Yeah, I never felt off on it. I felt very comfortable. I didn't really have to change too much.
I'm very lucky that I chased Derek down. He kind of ate it coming off of 4, and he did what so many people in iRacing don't do after a wreck, is he actually held down the brake instead of just kind of roll back up there, because if he would have kept rolling, he would have plowed right into me and ruined my night too. And because he held down the brake, I ended up, I have the video. I think I sent it to you. Do you see my steering?
I watched it.
Because I was fully anticipating him veering up the track, and so I'm trying to evasive maneuvers, and fortunately he did the proper etiquette thing and held the brake, and he didn't slide up the track and ruin his night, but didn't ruin mine in the process. And I don't know, what'd you win by 6 seconds?
Yeah. That first run, I think it was around like lap 15 or 20. I started thinking like, I need to save fuel. Because what if these guys don't pit? I fully anticipated around lap 40, 45, I was coming in.
I had no intention of making a second stop unless I was forced to, that I was on fumes and running out of fuel. I was not stopping that second time.
And so once we started getting close to lap 40,
7.7 seconds was your margin of victory.
I'm in big fuel saving mode. And I'm coming around, take lap 58. They're like, you have 1 gallon remaining. I'm like, okay, I need to get to lap 60 here. Got to split it.
You could have got another 3 laps out of that.
Yeah. So I came off of turn 2 on lap 59, and they're like, pit this lap.
Yeah, I'm getting the box.
I'm a lap short. Like, oh no.
So I get to lap 60. I see you're on your way down pit road. Derek's pulling off. I'm like, I can make it another lap. And so I just kept going. And the 2 of you are on pit road. I'm like, I can do this. And 1 extra lap may make all the difference in the end. And that was my whole thought process, is I'm going to push this to the limit, and I screw this up. Okay, I screwed up. But I get around. I end up leading 2 laps, which I've never led a lap in any of these league races. So I got my first 2 laps led last night. Thank you. And I come out of pit road fully, and I had a really good pit entry. I only lost maybe a second or 2 off of what Derek had lead wise when he pulled in. So I'm like, okay, like I turned the fuel, like, I don't know, I maybe ran about 5 or 6 laps, and then I turned the fuel mode to, I think, 2 or 3. I don't remember which mode I put it in. It wasn't much, because I was kind of doing some tire saving at the same time, which requires more coming off the throttle. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm about 0.7 laps good here. If we don't have a green-white checker, I'm going to make it. And so I'm just hanging out, waiting to hear, or, the crew chief going, Richardson is pitting. And that never happened.
Yeah, I came back out, and crew chief goes, you'll have to pit again. I'm like,
yeah, mine did too. I'm like,
no.
nope, I am not pitting again.
So I went straight to map 4.
Oh, wow.
And I was watching it. I was running 3 and 4 a lot in the first stint. So I went just straight to 4. I'm watching the fuel, and I get to about a half a lap. Okay, I'm there. I actually ended up moving it to 5. I was watching the relative, so I knew kind of what the gap was. And Derek was hauling when he came out of the pits, and I was watching his time and the lead shrink. Okay, I can just kind of cruise here. But I knew I couldn't push.
He said he was going to make it, and I'm like, I'm not. But he was pushing hard. I'm like, there's no way you're going to make it. And then I saw him really just like, I don't know, in the last 30 laps or so, he just came off hard. All of a sudden, I'm gaining like half a second on him every lap.
Yeah, he got down to about 2 seconds, and I'm in map 5 at that point. I'm watching like, okay, I'm good. I can bump it up. I can push a little harder. I just stuck it in 6th gear and just let it go. Yeah, red light was coming on that last lap.
I made it. It's funny when you look at the telemetry in DRS, and it was saying like you get down, it's like you have 2 laps. You're down, have a lap to go, and I get into the last lap, and it's like you have like 1.2 laps left, and then you get past the checker flag, and you come off the throttle, and all of a sudden it's like you have 3 laps left. I'm like, okay, I can just cruise around. But yeah, that was the first real fuel saving race I've ever had to do. I take it back. I did an open session at Auto Club, and I just totally botched the fuel strategy there. But I was very happy with how that came out, and walked away with second place, and you walked away with a win.
That change we've made for this season, going a little bit longer races, is really ratcheted up some of that competition. There's strategy. It's not just running flat out for 50 laps and calling it good.
Yeah.
You're really having to save tire. You got to run a full stint multiple times.
You get nervous towards the end, and you're just like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah, I was really just trying to manage the gap and keep it far enough ahead, kind of like in Formula One. Don't get in DRS. So I was trying to keep it at least a second and a half or better to not allow the draft to really hit.
I saw a meme the other day, and somebody had this hatchback car, and they were driving, and the hatch was open as they're driving, and it says below it like, "This is not DRS."
2 races to go. We got Homestead and then 250 miles at Michigan.
And then for Wednesday Night Dash, we had Homestead this week. Yeah, nice. Now we're back to Homestead on the Indy cars next week.
Yeah, Nashville Homestead back to back, both series.
You had a rough second half of Wednesday night.
Yeah, I got stuck to the wall, trying to come off, shot across the track. I saw where you guys were. I saw where you guys were, and I try to make sure to give you plenty of space.
Yeah, did you hear? I came on the radio. I'm like, Code Brown.
But I didn't get any practice time, and it was just rough. Then I got a little squirrely off of 4, and at that point I was like, you know what, I'm done. So I went ahead and just gassed it and hit the wall.
You hit hard, so I saved that for the crash of the week next week. So.
Yeah, that was an on-purpose crash.
Yeah, it's okay.
I just ended it.
Yeah,
but
that was
fun, actually.
yeah, I mean, you could see when you were coming around turn 4, you lost the back end of the car, and you could see it starting to slide up on you. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I was full throttle.
Yeah,
I didn't care at that point. No one was coming.
Doesn't work.
If like the leaders or somebody had been behind me, I definitely wouldn't have done that. I would have been able to save it and drive it off. But I'm like, I wasn't ready for it. But it was fun. Jumped up into the booth with Hunter and.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't know that. I
added some commentary on 2 races. It was a lot of fun.
We had a first. We have never hit the time limit before the race ended. and we got cut short a lap. And I don't know how that's possible because we calculated this out and budgeted extra time in there. And I'm assuming it was kind of a long caution. It felt like it took a long time to get everybody kind of packed back up after the at the stage break.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. So that explains why the count was weird at the end.
Yeah, we missed it by a lap.
You know, in all races we've done, that's not too bad.
Yeah, probably should have made this one 70. I think that was the issue. I think we just took a little bit too long. I mean, we've cut close. We've been within like 2 minutes of hitting the time limit.
Luckily, being a lap short didn't affect too much.
It didn't affect anything.
I don't think it did anything really.
I almost caught it. It was like deja vu from last time. Andrew Hewitt was ahead of me, running in 4th place. I'm in 5th, and I'm chasing him down. He's losing his tire, and I was just like, "Oh man, it's gonna be this again. I'm gonna pass him on the last lap again." And we get down to about 3 to go, and I just got really squirrely coming out of 4, and I was just like, got me this week. But yeah.
Phoenix coming up next.
Phoenix for the championship race.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll run it, but I'll be ready for the season to be over.
And then we're going to do our fun race. I just thought of that. So Colton, I believe, had the lead at the break.
Yes.
So I'm going to update our scores here in real time. Because I forgot to do that. All right. And then
I've done some testing for that fun race. I think I know what I'm driving.
What are you driving?
I'll let it be a surprise.
Oh, I'm just gonna go with a truck. I don't like the Gen. I don't like the Gen 4. It's too squirrely for me, and I just haven't had any time in the 87 to even.
I'm actually in a toss-up of the two cars, but I found one. Maybe it's my driving, but I think I found one that's actually a little bit faster.
Okay, so Colton gets the stage win. Yeah, Tyler's looking pretty good, unless he absolutely eats it. He's looking pretty good. And Brian McKinney in the walking away P3 yet again. Brian's comfortably in 3rd place now.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Colton got the stage, and Tyler gets a point for his pole position. And yeah, so yeah, it was basically the story of 2 races. You had me and Andrew fighting for 4th, and Colton and Brian fighting for 2nd. Was the storyline for today. All right, so let's take a look at the updated scores. And we know who's sitting in first. It's Tyler. He's got a 16-point lead going into Phoenix.
Now it's going to take a win by Colton and a little bit of help.
Yeah. Although the last time we did a race at Phoenix, Tyler had a not great night, because I remember I finished ahead of him. It was Next Gen.
Yeah.
He did not have he hates that car. I know he's made it very clear. Brian McKinney is currently sitting in 3rd. He's got a 15-point lead over Dalton. Dalton, he had a rough night. He was looking pretty good, and then he just kind of ate it coming off of 4.
Yeah, wheel disconnected, it sounds like.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, been there, done that. All right, I have moved into 10th place. Yes! my late season resurgence. You are currently sitting in. You're tied for 6th with Caden at 63 points. I don't know what happened to the Caden and Kian. They've been gone for a couple weeks. But if they don't show up, you have a decent shot at overtaking them for 5th. You've got a 20 or 18-point lead over Andrew, who's in 8th. Ian is 3 points. Where's Ian? No Jesse tonight.
Yeah, we're missing some of our regulars.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, Ian did his 3-hour stint at Petit Le Mans and then drove down and watched the event at Indianapolis. Like finished, he's like, all right, going to bed. And then
and leaving.
Yep. And then he woke up, he stopped into the broadcast booth for a little bit, and he's like, all right, off to Indy.
He's only a couple hours away, so it's not that far of a drive.
It's like a 2-hour drive for him, if that. So yeah, maybe we got one week left. We got Phoenix, and that is that. So on to, oh man, Formula. We didn't even hype this. Formula One. What a mess. We didn't really watch the road. We'll skip that. It's funny. I feel like I've spent more time watching the Xfinity series this year than I have the Cup series, and I think it's just Saturday's easier to watch for me than Sunday is. But man, did you watch any of the Qatar, however you want to pronounce it, Grand Prix?
Yeah, I recorded it, so I wasn't able to watch it live, but went back and watched, and what a mess.
No. It started before the race with Carlos Sainz as a fuel system leak, so he didn't even race.
He didn't even take the start.
And probably for his health's sake was probably, secretly, was probably better for him. Lewis Hamilton decided to go 3 wide. He pulled a iRacing at Lime Rock Park 3 wide into turn 1. Didn't work okay for him, and the memes going around are Lewis was the only one who didn't get a off-track warning, and somebody posted a picture of his car sitting out there in the sand. Like, that looks pretty off track to me.
Yeah, Russell had a little bit of a run and was kind of beside Max, and Lewis was on the outside of that and cut the corner a little too much.
And then it turned into George hit me, and then he went back and watched. He's like, okay, that was my fault.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy. Like, initially, like, taken out by a teammate 2 weeks in a row.
Let's just, and the thing too, the craziest part about that is one of my biggest pet peeves of iRacing, there's many of them, with the drivers in iRacing, is that everyone's always quick to start yelling at each other on the radio about whose fault it was. It's like, go watch the damn replay.
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10, you're going to blame the other guy, and you're going to realize, oh, I probably should have given a little bit more room there. Yeah, it was avoidable. Or it was my fault. It's just, and someone's like, oh, I could have told it was your fault. I'm like, you know what? In the heat of the moment, it didn't look like it was my fault. And that is the point, sir. Everyone in the heat of the moment is like, what in the world was that person doing? And then it's like, it's me. It's my fault.
Yeah, and I did see afterwards Hamilton found Russell, hugged it out.
Yeah.
So it looks like any issues that they've had from previous races maybe resolved and working together again.
I mean, there's going to be a point, especially when you're competing towards the front of the field. You're going to have teammate drama regardless at one point or another during the season, especially with how, like, let so-and-so pass.
Well, even McLaren had a little bit of teammate drama. Norris got the command to just hold position and not pursue, and he kept pursuing.
Yeah. And Logan Sargent dropped out because he said he basically felt like he wanted to die.
Yeah, he tried to fight through, but then ultimately retired.
You could tell when he was on the radio, and his crew's like, look, if you're not, like, pull it over, there's nothing wrong with pulling up. Please just safely get the car back. Please. Alonso asked if he could have a bucket of water dumped on him, and when he pit, the FIA said, no, you cannot do that. He said his ass was on fire. I think that was a direct quote. Alex Albon struggled to get out of the car.
Lance Stroll got out of his car and pretty much walked straight to an ambulance.
Yeah, he walked right to an ambulance. You looked at the cool down room. Max is lying on the floor.
Piastri is lying on the floor too.
Yeah. There were two out of three were lying on the floor, and they're just like they weren't even like watching anything. They're just lying there. And oh my god, what a rough event. And like, these are people are in really great shape. And the fact like these people, they say, oh, sitting in a car and driving left and right and hitting a brake, that's not athletic. Watch that race and tell me that, knowing how hot it is, that was probably pushing 140, 150 degrees Fahrenheit in that car.
Oh, and top it all off, the tire issue.
Oh, yeah. And they had to stop every 17 laps. George is pulling his visor up as he's pulling into the pits.
Yeah, there were a lot of drivers pulling their visors just to get some air. At one point, he was even driving with his wrist.
Ocon. I forgot. Ocon threw up in his helmet.
Yeah.
Probably gave him a 5-second penalty for that.
Hey, you sent me a video or meme. I went to the comments and everything was Ocon 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
It's Ocon's fault. Like, you're not even in it, but it's still his fault. It's hilarious.
It's a running joke.
Well, and so many track limit penalties too.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, that was just a brutal. Like everyone, they thought, oh, Singapore was brutal, but man, this needs to be later in the calendar.
Yeah, I think they are moving it. I believe November for next year. It'll be one of the later races,
but
just too hot.
They're off this week, but where are they next week?
Coda.
Yeah.
Come back over to the Americas.
We're gonna see Cowboy Ricardo returns, maybe. I love Coda. I think it's such a cool track. I just, that's one of the facilities. Like, I want to get to a Daytona 500, but I also want to see a race at Coda.
And it would be cool to see. I think if I can find cheap flights, I'm gonna be tempted to fly down to Daytona on Saturday, go to the race on Sunday, and fly out like first thing Monday morning.
Oh man, there's no such thing as a cheap flight to Florida for Daytona weekend unless you fly to Orlando and drive.
It's only like an hour away, so I'd do that.
I have a friend who actually, his dad owns an RV, and they actually go, and he hasn't in the last couple of years, but for years his dad would bring the RV and they would go and pull in on like Wednesday or whatever for the duels, and then just basically camp out the entire weekend and leave Sunday night or sometimes Monday when the race gets rained out.
So I actually haven't watched it yet. Who won the Roval? I didn't even look.
I'm cheating. I
plan on watching, but I
know just Sam Mayer won the Xfinity race. Oh, duh, Allmendinger. I knew that.
The dinger.
So it sounds
Ty
like
Gibbs finishing in 4th.
Yeah, and he didn't take anyone out either that I'm aware of. So we're down to the final 8 drivers. You have, let's see here, Byron, Truex. Yeah, Truex kind of like limps through that round, and now he's back in second. So you have Byron, you have Truex, you have Denny, and you have Kyle Larson as your top 4 right now. Buscher's 3 behind, Bell's 8 behind, Tyler Reddick is 8 behind, and Ryan Blaney is 10 behind. Who are your 4?
The way they're driving, I feel like Byron, Larson, and Hamlin all get in. I could see kind of a dark horse with Buescher. He's been having a really strong second half of this season.
Yes, he has. I mean, I think Byron short of him having just a disastrous 3 weeks, I think he's a lock for the last 4. I think Denny's also almost a lock for the last 4. Oh, there's some Denny Jeff Gordon beef. Did you see that exchange?
Saw a little bit that Gordon responded or something.
Yeah, Gordon said he was on the Sirius XM NASCAR radio, and he said something to the extent of like, yeah, I guess it's good that Denny's getting attention, and he's like, I wouldn't recommend our drivers do something like that, and it wasn't that bad of what he said, but he basically just said, I'm glad our drivers don't do anything like that. Just, build your reputation through wins is what he said. And Denny's like, you know what? That's not good enough. You gotta, if you want to create superstars and big names in the sports, you got to be more than just wins. And I don't think he's wrong. I mean, William Byron has arguably been the most successful driver this season. Outside of that goofy hat thing he does when he wins, like, it's kind of boring. That being said, on the other hand, Denny just irks the crap out of me. But because he's doing it on purpose. Like, that's not who he is. Or at least I don't think that's who he is. I feel like he's just exaggerating it for, because he can.
Yeah, he's playing a role now.
He's taken over the role long held by Kyle Busch. Somebody in California has won $1.73 billion in Powerball.
And at the end of the day, you get 200 million because of taxes.
200
I'd still take it.
200 million more than I started with. That's plenty to keep me going the rest of my life and then some.
Oh, big thing. Auto Club is currently being demolished.
I did see that. I saw some pictures the other day.
And it sounds like the short track probably isn't going to happen with how it got sold off.
Really?
Yeah, I saw something about that.
Really?
I'll
have to look at that because that's not cool. I still think that was a terrible move.
Great track.
It was. And as it got older and that track surface wore down, it made it even better. So you've got Vegas, you've got Homestead, you've got Martinsville.
This is 3 kind of solid tracks.
You're not going to have Ross Chastain driving along the wall this year.
Yeah, at least there's nothing crazy. You don't have a road course in there. You don't have a super speedway. You just have. Hopefully, Vegas is a little more exciting than the spring race.
Yeah, the spring race is pretty bland. Who won that one? Byron?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Billy Byron. Kyle Larson won Martinsville in the spring. And Homestead. I don't know. I think Byron is a lock. I'm going to say that. Byron, I want to say Truex makes it through as long as he doesn't sleepwalk his way through this round. I don't know. I keep looking at Christopher Bell, knowing that maybe he just doesn't have the magic this year, but he 2 wins in elimination races last year. And nobody remembers the second one because Ross Chastain was destroying his car to get him into the 4. But I don't know. I mean, Blaney wins. Blaney's had a much better year. He wins another one. He could be right back in there. But yeah, I think Byron's your lock almost.
Do we publish our predictions on Instagram?
Yeah, I think we have to publish.
Make an official record.
Have to do it before Sunday. So, oh yeah, you already got one in. Yeah.
So I got Hamlin, Larson, Byron, and Buescher.
Now I'm gonna say Byron, Truex, Larson, and I'm gonna go Christopher Bell. And I need to remember that. Text me that. I'll make a graphic. I'll have to go back and watch this so I remember who I picked, but we'll see who is correct in a couple of weeks when I head to Phoenix Raceway.
So let's see, you had Byron, Larson, Truex, and Bell.
And I had
Was that yours?
yeah, Byron, Larson, Truex, Bell. Yep. And then you had Byron, Hamlin.
All right, just sent those to you.
All right.
Even though we're talking, we're texting.
That's how it works. So, all right. So Vegas this weekend. No Formula One. We got Petit Le Mans on Saturday. That'll be a lot of fun. I'll catch the early stint on Peacock and let you know if anything interesting happens before it gets to USA for Saturday night. Let's do it. One more week of Wednesday Night Dash, 2 more weeks behind closed doors, and then we are off for the rest of the year. Maybe we can start chasing down a couple of drivers to come on and hang out with us for a while.
Don't forget that fun race.
Yes, and the fun race. All right, so frracingonline.com at FR Racing Online on all social media and streaming channels. Hit that follow, subscribe, whatever button you're watching this platform or this episode on. Thank you very much.
We'll see you soon.